2021, the most seen in at least 20 years. Officials say the figure was likely even higher in 2022. Nationwide, opioid overdoses have now killed more than 100,000 people in each of the past 2 years. Around 17 million naloxone doses were distributed in 2021 alone to help buck that trend.
Everybody needs to have and know about naloxone, but it needs to be in the hand of predominantly drug users and friends and family of drug users, because they're going to be the ones to be first on the scene if someone overdoses or when someone overdoses, so they can use it right there.
The naloxone nasal spray Narcan was approved as a prescription drug by the US Food and Drug Administration in 2015. Now Narcan has been given the green light to be sold over the counter. By late summer, Narcan will be available for purchase online, in gas stations, supermarkets, and other major retailers. The FDA says it's a move to address a dire public health need. Narcan is already distributed widely by healthcare professionals and community outreach groups, but advocates hope its sale over the counter will help normalise its use among the broader population.
Before someone calls 911, if they see someone on the street, if it's a friend, a loved one, someone on a bus with them or a ferry, having Narcan available is really very, very important.
The maker of Narcan says it hopes the out-of-pocket cost for the drug will be under $50. Some fear that sticker shock will be a deterrent.
We really need to think about saturating communities with naloxone, saturating it and making it available in low threshold settings where there are no barriers. If you put up barriers, people are not going to access the medication. So if you stigmatize people, discriminate against people, or charge them a lot of money, people are not going to access the medication.
Some argue the wider availability of Narcan is a positive step, but feel broader action and more thorough solutions are needed.
We need to have mass awareness and prevention campaigns. We need to get people into treatment. Even if they don't want it, we need to figure out ways to get them into treatment. So there's a lot of things we need to do that are, frankly, a lot harder, a lot more expensive, but would have a lot more of an impact.
Critics of Narcan argue it provides a safety net for addicts and insist that it's no magic bullet to reverse the opioid crisis. But its advocates say its broader availability is crucial to help prevent thousands more lives from slipping away. William Denslow, CNA, New York.
Right, in the next hour on Asia First, the G7 summit commences in Hiroshima with China high on the agenda, while the united response takes shape on Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Plus, reports say the Pentagon's accounting mistake leaves Washington with $3 billion more in arms for Ukraine.
Asian stocks heading higher after another positive handover from Wall Street. Debt ceiling dealings helping boost sentiment will keep you on top of the trading action as Japanese, Australian and South Korean stocks come online. Plus, more trouble ahead for India's one-time education tech darling Baiju. We have details of the US lawsuit next.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways. Leadership Summit, Trust Matters, coming this July.
Confronting geopolitical undercurrents. Japan's arming its distant islands.
何もしないっていうことは考えてないんです。
The specter of war returns.
奄美がなぜまたこういう風になってしまったのか。
Wednesday on CNA.
CNA's The Climate Conversations podcast is an honorary at the 27th Annual Webby Awards. With nearly 14,000 entries from 74 countries, this distinction puts CNA among the very best of the World Wide Web.
What would convince a meat-eating population to switch to meatless alternatives?
Check out this and many more podcasts at cna.asia/listen. Also available on the CNA and Me Listen apps or wherever you get your podcasts. This is Asia First.
It's 8 a.m. here in Singapore. I'm Julie Yu. The headlines this Friday morning. A diplomatic offensive against two countries not invited to the G7 summit, Russia and China. The UK unveils new sanctions against Moscow, targeting the lucrative diamond trade as it seeks to cripple Moscow's fight in Ukraine. The US also plans measures aimed at hundreds of entities.
And President Xi Jinping cements ties with countries in Russia's backyard as its relations with the West sour. I'm Steve Lai. Also this morning. Beijing rolls out the red carpet for Central Asian leaders in the historic Silk Road city of Xi'an, pledging an enduring friendship. A joint press conference is due today.
We need to go and break new ground. And Africa is one of the continents which we have to pay attention to.
Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong says the city-state is looking to deepen ties with Africa, urging businesses to explore untapped opportunities.
Plus, the most catastrophic floods to affect Italy in a century. At least 13 dead and an estimated 20,000 homeless as river levels continue to rise.
I'm Henry Yin with Business News. Head-to-head debt ceiling talks at the White House continue even with President Biden still overseas. Negotiators race to strike a deal with less than 2 weeks left before the government is expected to run out of cash to pay its bills. Plus, more trying times for the Turkish lira. The currency plunges to another record low, with the upcoming runoff vote potentially extending President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's 20-year rule.
The G7 summit gets underway this morning in the Japanese city of Hiroshima. High on the agenda are Russia and China. Also expected are talks on the common strategy for the potential threat posed by artificial intelligence.
A united response is already shaping up on the invasion of Ukraine. NHK reports the final statement at the end of the three-day gathering would condemn Moscow in the strongest terms.
A slew of new sanctions is in the pipeline, led by the U.S., which says its package will target Russia's war machine. The announcement came after President Joe Biden held bilateral talks with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. The UK also imposing new curbs on Russia, hitting its minerals sector. G7 leaders plan to discuss a possible peace summit for Kyiv, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expected to address leaders on the weekend. This even as China warns there's no panacea for resolving the crisis.
We stand up for the shared values, including supporting brave people in Ukraine as they defend their sovereign territory and holding Russia accountable for its new aggression.
そしてサミットでは日米ともに掲げる法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序を守っていくという G7 の揺るぎない意志を示したい。
In a new deal ahead of the summit, Japan is boosting defense ties with Britain. They signed the Hiroshima Accord as Mr. Kishida met British leader Rishi Sunak. The new pact will see the UK doubling troops in drills with Japan and also stepping up cooperation in trade and technology. Both sides have